If you're anything like me and is interested in the NFL draft and the combine and all the prospects and possible solutions that are out there for multiple NFL teams, particularly the Ravens as a Ravens fan and content creator, you've probably done at least 30 or 40 mock drafts, meaning controlling your team or multiple teams and then trying to figure out who you would pick and in what position based upon the situation that's handed to you at the moment that you're up. Well, I've done probably 200 total though, because a lot of them, what I'm doing is I'm simulating, and I'm just simulating and seeing what happens, and not necessarily to try to use the computer or use PFN or use PFF to figure out what might happen, but to give myself ideas. And one of the ideas I came up with for whatever reason was a 3-team mock draft. So I did a 3-round, 3-team mock draft for the Ravens, the Lions, and the Texans. 3 teams that I've watched a lot of film of for various reasons in the last year. Shout out to Canes411, a member of my Patreon, Texans fan. Join that Patreon and Discord with basically 72, 74 Ravens fans, or however many are in there now. It might be up to 80. And basically he's holding it down as a Texans fan in there by himself, constantly giving me information about the Texans and talking Texans. So, I ended up watching a lot of Texans film after the draft last year because I was very interested in Derek Stingley and Jalen Petre. And those guys didn't disappoint by and large. So in any case, let's get started with the 3-team, 3-round mock draft. And I'll go by team and just explain some of the decisions that I had to make. And then you guys let me know what you think of it. This is designed to be about a 15, 18-minute video. So you can see the first 8 picks that are here. I thought it was interesting. Granted, I was a Texan, so I had the number 2 pick, and I took C.J. Stroud. So I expect some criticism or some pushback on that. There'll certainly be people that will say, hey, I would have taken Bryce Young there. I was surprised to see the Colts trade up to 3 to get Bryce Young after I had taken C.J. Stroud. So just interesting whenever you're dealing with a computer or simulation or AI, the decision to trade up there with the Colts, between the Colts and the Cardinals, like kind of like what for the Cardinals are taking a quarterback. So in any case, there's the first 8 picks. You got 4 quarterbacks taken in the first 8 picks, which is unbelievable. It's kind of that way every year. And then thereafter, for my draft, I have it pulled up on the screen, didn't have another quarterback taken until pick 50, which was Hendon Hooker by the Tampa Bay Bucks. At controlling the Lions, I had considered taking him at 55 if he was still available. And that's going to be the first team that I'm going to start with. As I was picking with the Lions, the Texans were obviously picked 2, so I'll get to that in a minute. As I was picking with the Lions, got offered this trade, and I accepted it. So basically, instead of having 6 and then 18 for the Lions, I ended up with 11, 18, and then an additional 41 and a 2024 first. Used it to pick Devin Witherspoon. Christian Gonzalez, as you saw a moment ago, already was off the board at corner. Joey Porter Jr. got picked at 10, 1 pick before I was going to pick for the Lions. I thought, man, if this was to work out for the Lions and you could trade back to 11, pick up a 41 and a first in 2024, and you still got Joey Porter Jr., would have been unbelievable if you ask me. That's kind of crazy. The Titans moved up in this scenario to pick Paris Johnson, the offensive tackle from Ohio State, before AR-15 and Will Levis went 7 and 8. All right, so let's get to all the picks for the Lions, and I'll talk about them with you. Obviously, you saw Devin Witherspoon took Brian Branch at 18. I think it was 18. Yeah, it was 18. The nickel safety hybrid. I think he's capable of playing more than just nickel, but to team him with Kirby Joseph, Devin Witherspoon, Deshaun Elliott, I thought would have been a fantastic, group. So a young group, a lot of talent, and then taking the tight end who has an injury history, Dalton Kincaid. They have a need for a tight end, but they have a young guy who's talented as well there in Detroit. I think it's Brock Wright. And then went D-line and corner, doubled up at corner to finish it off. And you see at the bottom, gained an extra first-round pick from the Titans in 2024, which the Lions and Brad Holmes have, they played the draft perfectly last year in 2022. This one, looking at it from a Lions perspective, when the product was finished, when the draft was finished, again, I only did 3 rounds. I thought I wasn't as impressed. I wasn't as pleased with this one, to be honest with you. I think their defensive linemen, their interior D linemen, I'm not talking about Aiden Hutchinson, or James Houston the fourth, their edge defenders. I'm talking about their interior D line. I thought was tremendously underrated last year. As the season went on, I thought Buggs played extremely well. John Kaminsky is a guy who's versatile. He can play 5 technique. He stepped out and played some outside linebacker edge. Even saw him kick down to play 4-eye, and he was good at everything he did. But I felt like when I picked at 55 there, I couldn't pass up a talent like Javon Dexter. And then when we got to 81, nearing the end of the third round, Jalen Jones just looked to me like the best guy that was available. There were some other names still there. I'll read off 2 or 3 of them to you, and I'm quite sure that some of you would have different opinions. The very next 2 guys taken was Jarrett Patterson, who was a highly rated recruit for Notre Dame, still a very good player, but hasn't been as impressive. Julius Brents, the 6'4" corner from Kansas State, went 83, and then Zach Evans, the running back for Ole Miss, went 84. Just some of the names that were available as I finished up that Lions draft. Let me know what you think of it. Again, I wasn't as pleased with this once the draft was over and I looked at it. Don't get me wrong, I think Brian Branch is a hell of a player. Don't think that's a reach there for him at 18 at all because of his versatility. I think were it not for 2 experienced safeties in Alabama secondary the last couple of years, Brian Branch would have played more deep safety, but he ended up playing a lot of nickel, particularly in 2022, because that was a position that they needed a great player at, and I thought he served the role playing against the run and the pass, can cover with the best of them at 6 foot. I almost took, I think it was Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M there, but I thought that would have been a little bit early. I think he's more of a late first-round choice. But you guys let me know what you think of the Lions draft as it ended up for me. With $20 million in cap space, which I think is like the 10th best in the league or 10th most remaining in the league, they'll probably do something in free agency prior to the draft. Something light. I mean, DJ Chark is gone. So are they going to try to recoup a 6'3", 6'4" receiver? But with Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think they're in great shape there at receiver. But who knows what things will look like in terms of their needs as you get to the draft. But anyway, that's my Lions draft and my 3-team, 3-round mock. Let's get to the Ravens, and it's going to be very different looking from the previous screen that you just saw. And to be honest with you, was not my intention prior to going into. I thought I was going to take a corner and then a receiver, and then just the way the draft happened for me, Jordan Addison, JSN got taken at 15 by the Packers in Addison's case, and then 20 by JSN to the Seahawks, which I don't think is going to happen. I don't think they're grabbing him. But in any case, 22, I looked at the guys that were available. Darnell Washington, the tight end from Georgia. Brian Brees, the D-tackle from Clemson. Isaiah Foskey, the outside linebacker, edge defender for Notre Dame. Osiris Torrance, the guard from Florida. I considered that one because I understood that the Ravens may have a need at left guard. The corners, just in my opinion, to take them there, I thought would have been a little bit of a stretch. And the Ravens may have to do that. I'm scrolling down my list, and I've gotten to the very next corner that was taken was Emmanuel Forbes from Mississippi State, and I don't think he tested as well as people thought he would at the Combine. Not saying he's not a good player, but he was the very next corner taken in this simulation, in this mock at 53. Thereafter, Tyreek Stevenson from Miami went. Deonte Banks was the corner that I had my eye on, and Eli Ricks. I was hoping that one of them would make it to 86, and neither one did. Banks went 68 to the Broncos, and Eli Ricks went 2 picks later to the Las Vegas Raiders. So that was, a little bit of a miscalculation on my part. And then when I got to 86, Marvin Mims was already off the board. Trey Palmer from Nebraska is another guy that I had my eye on. Kalijah Cansey, the D-tackle from Pittsburgh, went to the Steelers at 80. I was waiting for him to go off the board. Jaylon Jones, another corner. I drafted him for the Lions at 81. Julius Brents at 83, like I said, the corner out of Kansas State, went to the Seahawks. And then Kaya Blue Kelly from Stanford went at 85. So by the time 86 came up for me, A.T. Perry was the best player there, and I took him. Granted, I don't know that the Ravens would just take two receivers. In this scenario, you would imagine that the Ravens have addressed corner, before the draft. Maybe they've re-signed someone. DJ Turner was the guy from Michigan, ran a 4.26 or 4.28 at the combine that I thought, okay, I could take him at 86. I just really like A.T. Perry, and I really liked A.T. Perry 2 months ago. He was just one of those guys that I watched and I thought, why aren't more people talking about him as if he's a player that could be drafted in the first 2 rounds? I did a draft profile video that I'll try to link here on A.T. Perry. It won't be any film. All my film for college is shown on Twitter. I'm not showing it on my YouTube channel at all. But in any case, I doubled up at receiver. I understand that there's a lot of people who will not like that. I didn't trade. I offered multiple trades, didn't take them, didn't think they were realistic. I thought, and even look, the Lions trade that I took to move back from 6 to 11, I think is a little unrealistic for the Titans to offer all that to move up from 11 to 6. But they wanted the tackle, I guess, in Paris Johnson Jr. So in any case, that's my draft for the Ravens. 2 players selected, doubling up at receiver. I think you really improve the talent level there. Josh Downs' efficiency is what shocks me. I'm in the middle of Twitter film study stuff that I'll put out for hopefully for my Patreons on Josh Down or patrons on Josh Down. And man, I mean, he's just so efficient. I think he had 94 catches on like 123 targets. Feel free to check me on those numbers. A.T. Perry was another guy that I thought was quite efficient. 150 catches on 215 targets in the last 2 years, I believe. Maybe it was 211 targets, 152 catches. So I think both of these guys have showed efficiency. Granted, they're both playing in the ACC, so some people would say, it's not an SEC team, it's not a Big Ten team. I understand that. Big numbers against some damn good teams. I really like both of these players. Josh Downs, I think, is really underrated. He's 5'10", 185. I think is what he measured at in the combine. A.T. Perry, 6'3" and a quarter, 6'3" and a half. Some people had him listed at 6'5", but 6'3" and a half at the combine. Ran a 4.47, contested catches, more agile, better route running than people think. I think these two guys dramatically improve the Ravens wide receiver room. I'm a big fan of Bridges. Shamar Bridges. Don't get me wrong. I think A.T. Perry's just more skilled, more refined, more big playability against high-level competition. So that's my Ravens draft. I certainly recognize that there's going to be some people who do not like it because I doubled up on receiver and it's quite bland. All right, let's get to the Texans draft. I thought this one was the most interesting of all 3 of them, and probably the one that I'll catch the most feedback for, except for from Ravens fans, I guess, for only taking 2 receivers. Look, I had the choice of Stroud and Young at 2, and I took Stroud. I just really like him. I just do. I just really like him. I really like his game. Doesn't mean that I don't like Bryce Young and don't recognize how high of a level of competition he played against and how great he executed and how much character he seems to have. I mean, he didn't have to play in this bowl game this year against Kansas State. Him and Will Anderson made a decision to play. They both showed tremendous character, if you ask me. But in any case, I took C.J. Stroud at 2. He's who I think that the Texans will take if they have a choice. And I might be wrong there. I might be totally wrong. And then Quentin Johnston at 12. I know he only measured at like 6'2" and 6/10 or something like that. 6'2" and a half, I guess, and not 6'4". Made 2 catches that it looked like to me at the combine, hands catches. Which is like the big downfall of him so far, or drawback. $36 million in cap space. The Texans' needs could be dramatically different by the time we get to the draft. They're 5th in the NFL or 4th in the NFL, one of those 2 in draft needs. And I think there's an interior line need there as well. That's why I doubled up on Luke Weipler and Emil Ecoyer. I can never say his name. 2 interior offensive linemen from high-level programs. Both of them very quick. And I drafted them specifically because I thought the Texans will be looking at, a zone stretch scheme with, the 49ers influences coming over from their staff and even the guys who are coming into the staff with D'Amico Ryans who aren't coming, directly from the 49ers. They're guys that are that have that influence. They're guys that have that background. So those two offensive linemen, 65 and 73, I stayed put, had a couple of trade options, and picked them because I thought they kind of complemented their system, improved their offensive line, improved their depth. Lucas Van Ness, I didn't think I could resist at 33. I looked at the players that were available, and look, there was talented guys there, but for the Texans' needs, I didn't think that. I mean, the USC edge, Tuli Tupulotu, I can never say his name either. He was there. Antonio Johnson, the safety from Texas A&M, who's a playmaker, and I really like. Yeah, I just didn't think. Oh, DeJuan Jones, the tackle from Ohio State, he was there, but I just didn't think I could pass up the talent. I really look at this as 3 first-round players: Stroud, Johnston, and Lucas Van Ness. I mean, to me, that's 3 first-round players. And when I say first-round players, I mean top 20. I mean, I think Lucas Van Ness is a top 20 player. Maybe 25, something like that. You may disagree a little bit there with how highly rated I have him, but with their cap space and the amount of draft picks they have, look, 5 of the top 73. I think they also have pick 100 or pick 104 actually, maybe. I think it's pick 104. It's the first pick of round 4, I believe. Second pick of round 4, 104. And I think they have 4 more picks after that. So they're going to be able to address positions and double up at positions. I didn't double up at receiver. I certainly think that the opportunity was there to do so. Jaden Reed is a guy that I really like. I understand he's not going to be drafted, at this position like 65 and 73, but he's a guy that for all 3 of these teams I think could be an addition. The Ravens drafting Josh Downs, him and Jaden Reed are very similar. Maybe a situation where the Ravens go corner early and they look at a guy like Jaden Reed at 86 as someone who will be there. And I think he's very classy and professional and smooth. Look, this is my 3-round, 3-team mock draft. Of the 3 teams, the one that I'm most proud of, I think, is this one, the Texans draft. The one that I'm, in some ways, least impressed with for my own self is the Lions. I didn't think I did as much with the Lions there, but certainly added talented players, don't get me wrong. Maybe I was disappointed in myself in trading back from 6 to 11 and not, grabbing Joey Porter Jr., who I think would really revolutionize that Lions defense, on the back end. But in any case, this is my 3-round, 3-team draft. It's fun to do. Challenge myself. I'm going to do another one later on this week or maybe early next week, rather than just picking for one team, trying to influence the draft and experience it, across multiple teams. At least for me, 3 teams that I have interest in. Obviously, the highest level of interest is the Ravens, but they're the team with the least amount of picks in this 3-team scenario. And then the Lions and Texans have really stacked their chips up, stacked up draft picks to improve their roster quickly with, low-level salary cap guys. Let me know what you guys think of the video. If you think I can improve this process, let me know. I considered doing one of these kind of live and recording it, but I didn't know if that would be interesting at all, and I didn't know if people would really care for me to talk out loud the thought process that I had. But this is the way I see it, and the 3 teams that I'm most interested in what they do for different reasons. If you think other people would enjoy this video, please consider sharing a link on social media to help my videos get more reach. Appreciate you guys' time.